The reason why we're here today is to commemorate the strike and the strikers. The convenience of the date is 60 years ago today, the film Salt of the Earth was released. A lot of people didn't realize it was released because they didn't get to see the movie. And the reason why they didn't get to see the movie was, and I say this everywhere I go, in my day job, I'm the business agent for the I.A.T.S.E, which is the International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees, which is a union that represented the projectionists. And to our great shame, and to my apologies, every time I have a chance to apologize to a group of people, I do. My apologies from my union for our complicity in working with the government not to let you see this great movie.
So everyone, I know that the buses are filling up, but if you could do your best to load into cars that can fill, with more than a few people, and we'll do our best to have an orderly caravan. Please follow along with the buses.
Okay. Let's go. Gotta have a good time.
Good morning. Good morning.
The main focus of today is the underpass. That underpass was the connecting link to a divided town. The purpose of the underpass was to have the folks from the north side, mostly the employees that lived on the north side, to come to work on the south side. There was a time where they had security guards posted on the north side of the underpass. And the question was, do you have money? Do you have a purpose to come over? Mainly to come to the store, which was a company store. Otherwise, you were limited to come over to the south side. That also was something that the company promoted, because inside the plant you had separate bathrooms for Mexicanos and separate bathrooms for the Anglos. In the workplace, the Mexicanos were giving the labor jobs. Very few Mexicanos were allowed to participate in apprenticeships and serve as electricians, carpenters, welders, and so on. The thing about it is that this connecting link finally connected the community. Since then, with the help of the mayor and previous administrations, this community has come together as one.
It's a powerful monument, but like everyone was saying, we've moved past it, and I thank you for your words that we are one community now, and we want to keep moving that direction. But the tunnel has some powerful history attached to it. If you care to view the tunnel, it is open.
Good to see you. It would be a stretch of the imagination to So we're going to get...
As I mentioned, all of the underground mines in the open pit in the area were unionized and with the same union, the local 890 mine mill. The contracts came up due at different times. They were staggered. In October 1950, when the contract came up for the Empire Zinc Company, and this mine shaft that you can see where I'm pointing over there is the Empire Zinc head frame. That contract came up in October of 1950. The union sat down with the company to negotiate. They asked for 15 cents an hour wage increase. They wanted collar to collar pay, and I'll explain that. And they wanted some paid holidays. What they wanted was equality. All of the other underground mines paid their miners from the moment they got on the cage at the collar and dropped off down into the mine until they came back up to the collar and stepped off the cage. So in all of the other places, the men were working and being paid for 8 hours. At this mine, Empire Zinc, they were not being paid their lunch hour. They had to eat lunch on their own time. And so they were underground for 8.5 hours, and they wanted equality. And they wanted the wages to be the same as the other mines. And as I said, the company would absolutely not even talk to them. It was a take it or leave it situation. So the men went on strike. The men walked the picket line for approximately 8 months. It would have been 1 week longer, and it would have been 8 months. The company got a judge in Silver City to pass an injunction saying that the men could not stand on their picket line. They couldn't block the road. Well, if you've lost your picket, you don't have a strike anymore and you've lost the cause. The men continued on that particular day when the injunction came in effect. The men continued on their line, but were arrested one by one, and they would pass the signs off to someone else. And after about a dozen men were arrested, the women came in. That would be the wives, the girlfriends, the aunts, the grandmothers, and not just from Empire Zinc, but all of the unionized mines. They came in and took over the picket line. And it wasn't until the end of that they finally, the company, decided to give in, and they never did give the men the collar to collar or the paid vacations that they asked for. But in lieu of that, they raised the wages up higher than the other mines. So the final settlement in January of '52 was probably about 50 cents an hour increase.
And I was 14 years old. I came in because my sister was expecting a baby, and she was married to one of the miners. I would come on weekends, and whenever school was out, my father didn't like for me to miss school. I wasn't even in the movie because he didn't want me to be missing school. The district attorney had given the sheriff permission to come and move us out. And the circle was about a radius of about 50 feet. At the time, we had different people doing a circle at the time, and we would take turns. Well, it just happened that I was in the circle when the deputies hit us. They came and they yelled through the megaphones just like we're doing, and they told us to get out of the way, and I wasn't there at the time that they did this. I got there later, and I didn't know what was going on. The ladies kept on walking, and well, it was my turn to be in the line, and I remember Mrs. Consuelo Martinez was at the front of the circle. I was going around. I didn't think the cars were going to move. I was going around at the time that I heard screaming, and the first car hit Mrs. Martinez and went completely over her right side. And I heard a lot of screaming, and I heard Virginia Jenks say, "You whistle." She said the word, "You son of a bee, you just ran over one of our ladies." And they were screaming, and crying and hollering. I came around as it happened, and I didn't know they were moving the cars. I thought they were still standing parked. I don't think they cared whether we saw or not. And so I threw myself over, and that's where I got dislocated arm and dislocated leg.
Every morning for I don't know how many months, we used to spend the time in tents, and they used to let us run around wild, throw rocks and everything. But when the day it got really bad, I don't think anybody will ever forget that. We cried, we went to jail, we banged on the gates, and finally they sent us home with our dads. I remember doing the movie up farther up, I think it was. Yeah. I can still remember all that, and I was pretty young. But it gave us a lot of progress.
Once we had the unions and they came into effect, and I started being able to negotiate with the company for better benefits, slowly but surely, we started getting Chicano foremen, and of course people go into politics, and it's just tremendously better now. And organization had a tremendous amount to do with the better wages that the people are getting today and the conditions.
What this means today, and the lessons that we can learn from the film, the lessons we can learn from the strike, the lessons we can learn from the strength of the people involved to bring into the future. And we've designed a panel that touches on all of those aspects.
I happen to be one of the strikers' wives that went out on when the I.A.T.S.E strike took place, which was in 1950. I was born out in Gila, New Mexico. I knew nothing about unions or workers' rights or anything like that. I.A.T.S.E was one of the smallest mines around, with only a little over 100 workers. There were other miners around that agreed right away, being the local that it was, Local 890, and they said, well, we're going to support the I.A.T.S.E strikers. If it hadn't been for them, of course, the strike would have, they would have lost it. So before they knew it, the picket lines were full of supporters of with the strikers. And what happens next? Then they put an injunction on the strikers. They could no longer be on the picket line. So more meetings took place, more discussions. Then it was decided, like you have seen in the movie, that one of the ladies says, we're not striking members. We can help you. We can go to the picket line in your place. Some men right away said, no way. Women do not belong in the picket lines. The women are supposed to stay home, not come to picket lines. So more discussion comes up, more discussion and more discussion. And so finally it's agreed, well, if the sisters want to help us, we should allow them to do that. And so what did we learn from this strike? I think we learned a lot, not only the women, but I think the men too. They learned a lesson. They knew that women have a right to have their place. A woman is not just to stay home and take care of babies or whatever a lot of men think. Women are as strong as the men. It was a big lesson that we learned, and whether they call us communists, whatever they want, we are for justice. We are for equality.
I guess if you support salt of the earth, you're considered a communist or a socialist or something. Well, I guess I'm a goddamn communist. But if you can look at what took place then and what's taking place today to workers and retirees, it's the same thing. Anita mentioned about discrimination. What are we facing today? Every day, voter suppression, more discrimination against people of color. We face discrimination against women. We're facing that. It isn't so much different. The wages, the middle class is gone. You know, I just read a report where there's more millionaires today than ever before, and it continues on. I don't think there's too many millionaires sitting in this room. You know, all we want to do is go to work and be paid fair and have health care, and it really, you know, just take 1950 and take what it is today, and we got to keep fighting. Got to wake up the politicians. They can shake your hand and ask for money, but they need to be our voice. And if they're not our voice, then we need to get rid of them and find somebody that will do the job.
My father was he was in the mine mill union. My brothers were in the union. My brothers-in-law were in the Empire Zinc strike. My husband was a steel worker. He retired. And he had his own problems. He got hurt one time, and I got a phone call, and he was at the hospital. And they told me that he had gotten hit by a train, and I thought he had gotten hit by the train, but it was a truck that it was in. I guess I don't really recall either, because I think, you know, when someone gives you bad news, you really don't pick up everything. But I thought he was coming to stay and rest and get over it, and the company wanted him back on the job because they didn't want OSHA to know. And I said, what the crap is that? After what happened to me, I took a very different approach at law enforcement. But as I said earlier on the tour, the best way to fight injustice is to educate yourself, which was my father's goal in the first place for me. But to see all of you people here, it gives me hope that the struggles that those people in 1950 were going through have not been forgotten. So the struggle didn't end here for me, it continued. And I want to say that if you don't get solidarity around you, it will continue to happen, because when they see you alone, it's easy. But if they see you united, then there's power in numbers. So we need to stay together.
My family moved into Grant County in about 1958, 1959. By then, that chapter of the struggle had already occurred. We had opportunities that Lorenzo and Anita Torres did not have, that Arturo Flores did not have, that Juan Chancon did not have, that Mrs. Ramirez and Mrs. Chacon, and all of you that were involved with mining. There were opportunities for us that were not available to you. So first off, I want to thank you for paving the road and making it a little bit straighter so that people like us were able to have some achievements. We walk down that line receiving that degree, whatever it may be, a bachelor's, high school, master's, or PhD, you're part of that. Because without you, it wouldn't have happened. They left us on the table a great legacy. Okay, the Empire Zinc strike occurred in 1950, 1952. How many years is that? 62? Thank you, we have a mathematician. Okay. Thank you very much. Y luego the film, 1954, was when it was released. That's 60 years ago. ¿Verdad? That was the legacy. That was the beginning. That's supposed to be the beginning. That's supposed to be what they left us so that we could build upon that. We came out incredibly proud and incredibly angry. Proud that there was such a beautiful, beautiful story of our people fighting back against oppression in Grant County, and angry because nobody ever told us about it, because it was blacklisted.